Awesome. I mean, a lot of blessings this year. I think, starting it off with, the newborn was definitely the biggest blessing of the year for me. And, I think it really helped my mindset this year. And, I was just happy I could, help the team grow. And, I know obviously we would have liked to be in playoffs and something to push for, but definitely happy with, the results. But I always think there's room to grow for me, and it's something that I want to do this year.
You'd like to stay on, I'm guessing, and have you guys talked at all?
Yeah, no, we've talked, and I've voiced plenty of times, how much I love being here and want to be a part of the future here. And, it's something, I got to work on my own game and, help the team, but also, helping the young guys. And there's a lot of exciting opportunity here. And, it's definitely something that I've voiced that I want to be a part of.
What's important to you as you try to work through the next contract? Is it just kind of finding a stable home down the road for you?
Yeah, we've been in a position where we've been a little bit in different places now, and it's definitely nice, the idea of being in a place for more than 2 years, and it's definitely finding some sort of stability, and I just feel super blessed and thankful for that, and hopefully things go well. We can get in a spot where that can maybe happen.
Did talks get real close before the trade deadline? Like, what was that process?
Yeah, no, it was definitely, they got close, but, it's a business at the same time. There was definitely a lot of moving pieces. As you guys know, it's crazy, it's super hectic, and it's not just, me that they're dealing with. There's so many different things that they're going on, and there was definitely times where it got close, and then, unfortunately, we never got to a deal, but it was definitely very beneficial to kind of see that side of the business, and, it was nice, that they obviously felt good enough to, want me here still. And like I said, my mindset hasn't changed in that front. And, it's definitely been, amazing to, see that process and, go through it, not as stressful as it may be, to still be here through it.
You think the 30 goals, that 30-goal plateau puts you on a different footing?
As far as my self goes, I think, it was definitely great to see that I can accomplish that. It's something that, I worked really hard for, and it's nice, but I'd also love to, push the team to be in a spot where, you make playoffs at the same time. So, I'm super blessed and, happy to hit that milestone, and it's something that I want to push forward to do more in the future, and, prove that it's not just, one season. It's something that, I made gains this summer that, really put myself in that position to be able to do that, and I continue to climb and do that this year, and, prove that I have a chip on my shoulder, that, that's just not 1 year. It's something that I can do consistently, and and I think the next step in that, in saying that, is get better myself, but also be able to push the team into a spot where we're playing in playoffs.
When you have as much success as you did with your last offseason routine, do you just repeat it, or is it something like you want to make some more adjustments so you can go even higher? Like, how do you approach this offseason?
I think in the past, you work so hard in the summer, and it's not necessarily aimed always in the right place. I think for me, it was I was working out, 6 to 7 times a week even, and, skating just the same. And, I was doing things that were, obviously helping my game, but weren't really specific to, how I was going to get better as a player. It was more, I'm going to go work out today. Okay, my workout's done. Or now it's, I'm going to go work on, my skating for the hour that I'm on the ice, and I'm just doing skating this week, and I'm going to recover better, and I'm going to make sure I'm on top of, the stuff that I need that's going to make me a better player, rather than, and I don't even think it's going through the motions, just, aiming that, hard work in the right place, I think. And I think for me, it's all right, I found some results in what I did last year in the summer, and more of the same, but also more often. I think all right, I found something that works. I didn't know if it was going to work. I felt better because of it. But now that I found results from it, it's all right, well, now I can really harp on those things and, continue to make jumps in that.
So in what way was working on skating in the past different than working on skating this time?
It was more specific to me, I think, and it's not a slight to any other, skating coaches or anything like that, but you can go out there and you can do all your, edge work and C-cuts and all the different stuff, but, I'm not going to have the stride of Jack Eichel or any of these guys. It was all right, well, what do I need to work on specifically myself that's going to make me a better skater, not me more like another guy that's skating? And I think, when I kind of considered that, I worked on things specifically for myself that, you know, with my skating coach, with Adam Oates and all these guys that, you know, I work with during the summer to specifically make gains in my own game rather than, you know, overactively trying to become a better hockey player. It's like, all right, what are the couple things that I need to work on that are going to really make a, you know, difference for me this year?
Bedard had talked about working on his skating this summer and picking the brains of older guys in the room. Did he talk to you about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this kid is one of the hardest workers like I've seen. Like I said, like I don't know if, you know, he's a guy that, you know, shows up the rink early. He's working out extra. He's always doing those things, and that's, you know, that's why he is who he is. But at the same time, I think he's one of those guys that wants to learn. And, you know, the advice that I talked to him about, and other guys I'm sure have talked to him about, is, you know, as you get older, you got to work on things specifically that are going to help your game rather than, you know, I was a guy that just wants to skate and be out there and have fun, and that joy you get as a kid just going out on the ice with your buddies is awesome. But when you get older, it's a business, and, you know, you really got to work on things that when you're out there, you're going to make yourself better. And I think as a guy, you know, like him, he's obviously super hungry and super motivated, but he's also a sponge, and he learns from, you know, the older guys, and that kind of shows what kind of person he is, and, you know, a guy that, you know, wants to get better. And it's really mature for a kid that age, you know, to be able to notice that, you know, you can learn from the older guys and actually use their advice and take gains in your steps in your game.
Just one more thing. You know, we talked in the past about like guys like Seth Jones wanted to be in a situation where the playoffs are a reality. Does that ever cross your mind that you could have an opportunity to be on another team that's closer to their playoff window than the Hawks are?
Yeah, I mean, but you see it in teams nowadays where teams aren't in the playoffs, and then next year, like Montreal was a team that wasn't in the playoffs, and now they make the playoffs. And what did they do specifically that made them to be able to get in that spot? I don't know. I don't know what the perfect answer is, but, you know, there's teams, once you get in the playoffs, it's anybody's game. You know what I mean? Like, anybody can win series, and you just got to get to that point where you give yourself a chance to get into playoffs. And, you know, teams change quickly. We have obviously a super bright future here, and, you know, there's going to be guys that, you know, make tremendous gains this summer that help the team, you know, win more games. And I think Blackhawks fans and a lot of people are going to be surprised, you know, how quickly things can turn.